Okay, in the previous video we went over the device or the backup options or the advanced settings. You get there by going to your backup job, clicking on the settings button, and we went over this first group here in the previous video. You can check that out. We were down to the destination. The destination is going to be where you want to back your stuff up to. Like I said, you can back up to a local hard drive, you can back up to a USB drive, or you can go down and back up to an online device. And you can change that from the settings tab. Keep in mind, if you change the settings, if you change the backup destination from, say, a local to an online device, you're going to change the features and the options that you have in this window. They're not going to appear right away. You have to close that guy out and open it back up for those settings to be reflective of where you're going to back it up. So if you go from online to a local one, then you want to close this guy and open him back up. Okay, so here we go, and all of our options are going to appear. And the next one down is the write mode. The write mode is going to have two options here. It's going to be the append to media and the overwrite media. Uh, the two are obviously, the difference being that one, it's going to delete everything that was on the destination before it does a backup, and the second one is just going to add to it. In the overwrite media, if you've got data or a backup set that's already there, then it's going to overwrite that data with the new data. In the append to media, it's going to add to it whatever was already there. So if you're doing an overwrite media and you're backing up every day, then your whatever your and this applies strictly to the local backups, not to the online. Different set of rules are applicable there. But if you're writing to a local media such as a USB, CD, um, network, etc., then overwrite is going to delete the data first and then put the new data there. So you only have that one backup to restore to. So if something happened and you needed to go back a couple of days, the overwrite media is not going to be the option to choose. In this case, the append to media is just going to do it's going to add new stuff to it. So it's going to build bigger and bigger and bigger. The upside to that is that you've got a lot of days that you could go back and restore to. If you had been doing this for a month, you could go back and restore data that existed a month ago. The downside to it is that you stand the chance of making a pretty large file depending on how much data you're backing up each time. It's just going to add and grow bigger and bigger and bigger. If you got plenty of hard drive space, it may not be an issue. You can let that go, but it's definitely going to be something that you want to keep an eye on. A good example of a good place to use the overwrite media is, say you had multiple, say you wanted to do a backup job every night and you had 5 folders, one called Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. You could make 5 backup jobs, each that would run on each day of the week and would send their data to, like in this case up here, I've got a Monday folder. Every day it's going to overwrite what was in that day's folder with stuff from the current backup, so that you'll have a 5-day local window that you'll be able to restore from if the case needs to be, and you won't have the problem with your hard drive getting full of multiple weeks or months worth of data. So the two definitely have their pros and cons. Um, it's important to understand that not one setting or not one, there's no real way to set up a job that's going to be right for every single individual in every single case. It depends on what your needs are and what you want to accomplish as to how you're going to set things up and how you want to do them. A case that may work for a doctor's office may not be reliable or realistic for a construction company. So each setting on here is going to depend on what your needs are. Moving down the list, we've got the backup mode. Backup mode, there are 4 different settings. Again, these are handled a little bit differently in the online device. But for local backup, you've got the full, which backs up all selected files, and then it marks each file as backed up. The incremental backs up selected files that have changed since the last backup or that are new, and it marks them as backed up. The differential backs up selected files that have changed since the last backup, and again, or new, and does not mark them as backed up. The difference being that the differential does not mark them as backed up, and the incremental does mark them as backed up. That's an important distinction. And then there's a snapshot which backs up all selected files and does not mark each file as backed up. Let's take a look. If we do a full backup, we'll do an example here. We'll go full, and we've got our set here, and we're going to back this up to our Monday file, and we're going to do a quick backup. Here we go. Okay, that backup job went pretty quick. We're going to go back over to the backup, and we're going to back up to, and we're going to send this to our Tuesday folder, and we're going to do the same thing. Now again, keep in mind, this is a full backup. Okay, again, it completed. Now let's go look at what we've backed up. Here is the local backup folder, and here we have Monday's backup. That's the first one that we did. We can see here by the file size that the file size is about 39 meg. Okay, we'll go back over and look at Tuesday's backup, which was the second backup that we did, simulating another day, and we've got 38, almost 39 meg. Okay, we're going to go find that data, the data folder that we were backing up. I should have it here, called data, and we can look at the file attributes, and we can see that the attribute, we can see that that the archive flag has been cleared. In other words, it told the system that it backed up. Okay, so it did a full backup in both cases. It backed up 100% of the files, regardless of whether they had been changed or not. We could easily go in and create another one called Wednesday and do another one, and it's going to back up everything that's in there. To give you kind of an example, we're going to go over to the Restore tab, and we're going to look at the files that are actually in that backup set. Okay, these are the two backups that we just did, the one at 957 and the one at 958. If we look at the one here, we can see that we've got all the files that were in our little data folder that are all backed up. Again, that's the first one we did, indicating that it was done on Monday. And if I shrink this down and expand this out, we can see that this came from Monday. Okay, and then if I go down to the media from Tuesday, I could click on the data, and I can see that it backed up again the same folders. This again would be good if it full backup is going to back up all of the selected file, and it's going to back them up and mark them as backed up. A full backup doesn't care that they've already been backed up. A full backup is going to back them up regardless. Again, keep in mind that it is handled a little bit differently with the online versus the local. This is an example of the local backup. Okay, now what I've done is I have deleted the data that was in. I've deleted my backup jobs that were in my Monday and my Tuesday backup folder. So I got rid of those guys, and we're going to do another example. We're going to do a full backup and then an incremental backup. So on this one, we're going to point this to Monday. We're going to do our full backup on Monday. I'll go ahead and run that. Okay, we can see that it completed. We'll take a look at the Monday folder, and we can see that we've got that same 38 meg worth of data in there. Okay, we can see that our Tuesday folder is empty. We'll go back over to the backup tab on the client. We'll change our backup destination to Tuesday. We'll change our settings, and we are only going to do incremental. Now, what should happen now? It should back up. Let's see, we'll look here, we'll read it exactly as it appears. Incremental is going to back up selected files that have changed since the last backup and mark them as backed up. So we're going to back up files that have changed. Now in our case here, we're not going to have any files that have changed, so we shouldn't have anything in there. So let's go ahead and back that up. We'll start that job, and it should finish pretty quickly because nothing was changed. And jump back over, look into our Tuesday. Now we have the file there. We have the backup job there, but you can see here it's only 2K worth of stuff. Let's go back over to the client. We'll go into restore. Okay, we're over. We're going to look for the last one that we did. I believe that was this one here, the 1014, and there's nothing there. Now if we go back up one, we can look and see that this is that first backup we did of the two most recent ones. In other words, this was the full backup that we had done, and then this was that incremental. And remember, we didn't expect to see any data backed up here because no changes were made. Now if you were doing it this way and you looked at the last backup that you did, you saw Tuesday was your last backup, you click on here, there's no data. Well, the reason being is that there was nothing changed, so it didn't need to back anything up. You would have to go back to a prior backup that we did, and again, up here on Monday, to retrieve all of the data. So that's why sometimes the incremental, the differential, those guys can kind of get confusing. Okay, now keeping with the same full and incremental, we're going to go into our data folder and we're going to add a new text document. We'll be lazy and keep the default name, enter some random text. We're going to save that. We go over to our backup job. We should see that in our data folder we've got everything selected. By default our new text job is selected, and we're going to back this up to Monday. Actually, we're going to back this up to Tuesday. Remember, we had our full backup done. We're going to back up to Tuesday. Our settings are again going to be incremental. We're set to append, and let's do a backup and see what happens. What we think will happen is, because we added a new file, the new text document, that we should look at our backup set that we just did. We'll go over to the restore tab, look at our backup set that we just did. Oops, I might have to, that's a kind of a gotcha. You have to, if you do a backup job, then go straight to the restore. You need to close and open the client in order to get that, that last backup job to appear. And if we go to the very last one, we can see that using the incremental, it picked up that new text document that I did. Nothing else came over with that incremental backup, just that one file that changed. And let's see what it did to the archive flag. We go find our data, new text document, where'd it go? Our attribute has been cleared, so it knows that it's been backed up. Okay, so that's backing up using the incremental backup. We're going to stop this video there. We're going to pick up on the next one looking at differential, and we'll do the same thing, same kind of walkthrough as we did here.